So like I said, we have like 4 teams here. We personally are the Ohio War Horses. We're based out of the west side of Cincinnati. This particular event, which by the way, right now we're at the Ohio Renaissance Festival. This event is held by the Cincinnati Barbarians. They're more so on the east side of Cincinnati. And then I said we got some close teams of proximity. So we have the Lexington Lycans here as well, Marion Mayhem, along with a couple others.
And so what do you guys do in the off season, like whenever the Renaissance Festival is not going?
So we usually try to hold practice every weekend, once a weekend at least. It's a very, very demanding sport. Honestly, if it was up to us, we would probably practice more often, but we're one of the teams that have people commuting from a little bit outside like the traditional radius you find amongst most teams. So I personally am from Columbus, which is about obviously 2 hours.
Sure.
Well, an hour from here, but for me to drive to practice, that commute's about 2 hours every weekend.
Every weekend?
Every weekend. Yeah. I mean, I had to sell the car I was driving. I had to lift a Jeep Wrangler, 10 miles to the gallon, spending $1,500 a month on it.
No good.
So I switched to a hybrid and doing that now. But yeah, to answer your question, we do practice every weekend, but then we also do a lot of events as well.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Burkus. It's like a 3-story bar. We've sold that out a couple times. We've held some events there. We have something we call a Night of Heavy Metal, which is one of our fighters is also like the lead singer in a metal band. So he'll be playing metal while we're fighting. Hence the pun. Night of Heavy Metal.
That's some Amon Amarth action right there.
Yeah. We just did Germania
a
couple weeks back. That was an insane turnout, way better than we ever could have hoped for. Also do the Arnold. So we try to stay busy with not just like exhibition entertainment events like this, but also some paid events as well.
So the feedback, so from what we can tell here, I mean, this place is packed. We know that there's been 20,000 people here this weekend.
Yeah.
20,000 people, I'm pretty sure that's a record so far.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, Viking Weekend is usually the busiest, and it's only going to get busier. So this is actually a newly additioned area.
Right. They expanded the 5 acres. They added this ring, and they added a couple different restaurants.
Perfect. Yeah, I was actually just going to say I have no idea how big this area is, but yeah, 5 acres, which is a lot. And they actually have some future plans to make this into like a big Coliseum-esque area as well.
Really?
So obviously this has a little bit of a hill, a little bit of a slope here, so you can see some tiered seating, but there's still a lot of people that are kind of looking over shoulders, so I think they're trying to negotiate on whether or not they want to build like a pit down on the list, which would be sick.
Yeah.
Or just additional seating.
Do you think there's going to be enough athletes such as yourself that would be able to fulfill that need, like that want for people to see this? Do you think there's going to be enough of you guys to keep it going?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, every year we tend to add new people. So to give you an example, I actually answered one of your previous questions. I've been doing this for about a year, and actually the way I got into the sport was doing what you guys are doing right now, just sitting and spectating. Happened to be eating on one of these benches, you can be the same bench, after one of the fights, and they saw me, and apparently I have the look, because we're a Norse-themed team.
Yep.
So like I had like a bunch of Viking garb on and stuff, and they're like, hey man, you ever thought about getting into the sport? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Said come back next weekend, and I figured, you might teach me some of the rules, let me swing weapon, but they put me in kit, and I actually had my first fight at Ren Fair against one of the best teams in the nation, in which case I got a concussion.
Yeah.
My fault. Like we talked about before, injuries are actually very rare in the sport, but in this particular situation, I had a helmet that I grabbed off the ground that was only 1.5 millimeters thick, should have been 3. And it was all history.
So it really makes that much of a difference being like that, like 2 millimeters difference.
Oh yeah.
Will be the difference between injury and, I don't want to say you're not going to notice it. Like, so when you actually have a helmet on, you take like a hit from an axe.
Yeah.
Is there any way to describe that? Like,
yeah.
What that's like? So
surprisingly, in a lot of these entertainment environments like this, we'll try to strike the head, and it's not because it inflicts more pain. It's actually because it gives the perception that it's a harder hit. Yeah, so actually if I was in a tournament setting and I was held up against the list and I saw somebody coming with a halberd, which is one of the really big axes and stuff you don't want to get hit by, I would actually try to use my head to block some of those shots because, that stuff's 3 millimeters hardened steel, whereas this is titanium, and it might be 1.5 millimeters thick. So there's the trade-off there. So like you have different kinds of armor, different kinds of steel. So these are steel, these are extremely heavy, these are titanium. So it's kind of a trade-off to, do I want speed, do I want endurance, or do I want, to be well protected?
And there's not really much running in this sport, is that correct?
Oh man, it depends on the team.
Yeah?
So we're notoriously not great at cardio. We're working on it, we're getting better. But man, there's some teams that can just sprint around the list, which is what they call the ring. Sprint around the list for what seems like hours, and in some cases it is hours in tournaments, and hardly win it at all.
Yeah.
Just different animals.
Yeah, each athlete's different. Everybody has their own qualities.
Yeah, and there's different positions, so you can kind of cater to the position as well. So, not to bore you with kind of like the layout or anatomy of a fight, but it's traditionally in tournament settings, you're looking at 5v5. So you got 5 people on each side, and they all have their own position. So these are the big guys. These are the guys that hold the rail. It's last team standing. Then you have your guy in the middle, who's the runner, who tries to sprint around and create confusion, get people to turn their backs and allow opportunities for takedowns. And then these guys, which is what I am here, is more of like a heavy striker, but they can also move around. Yeah.
Man, that's impressive. That is impressive. Strategy that goes into it. People, I mean, you can actually see it. Like if you've seen stuff like this before, you can actually see like, okay, that's almost like football. Like you can see a play that, okay, these 2 guys are the running backs, and this guys are the receiver, and so very entertaining.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and that's where a lot of us come from too. Like we come from very sport-driven, competitive backgrounds, and it translates so well into the sport. Like it's, for example, I like wrestling. I wrestled in high school, but it's like there's just something different about the camaraderie and the brotherhood behind it. And this is in our blood, Like the reason this sport was invented was, back in those days, there was nothing to entertain the people, so they needed to keep people from fighting and killing each other. So they invented this sport because people were so entertained by war and violence. It's an innate thing within human beings. So, it kind of awakens something from your ancestors and your soul. There's just nothing like it, and you can't really describe it until you're alongside your brothers and literally reenacting war with no scripts and real weapons.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, what's some social media, or how do people find out a little bit more about the sport specifically, like hoop, or what would you call it?
We consider it a brotherhood.
Okay.
But obviously, it's more of a team.
Okay.
But yeah, you can find us on all social media. It's Workhorse Events. And like I said before, we do all kinds of stuff. So we'll do stuff like this. We'll do paid events and whatnot. But definitely encourage you guys to come out and check it out. There's nothing like it. One of our slogans is real hits, no scripts, and that's exactly what it is. So you're going to come out, you're going to expect to see choreography, and you might end up seeing somebody get a concussion. So it's very entertaining. But yeah, and if you're interested in getting in the sport, by all means hit us up. We have new people coming in all the time. Probably not the best segue from concussion to come try it out, but like I said, it is rare. It doesn't happen very often, especially if you have people looking out for you to put on the right equipment, which obviously will make sure to do that for you.
I was definitely impressed too. Last thing, I actually saw some females in there today.
Yeah, man.
Which was very impressive. That was something that I was not expecting.
Dude, I respect them so much because a lot of times they're wearing the same armor that we're wearing.
Yeah.
And dude, it's a lot for us. So I'm not sure if I said this on camera or not, if it was just in conversation, but I mean, this stuff weighs upwards of 100 pounds.
Absolutely.
Just the helmets alone are usually 12 pounds. So it's like wearing a 12-pound bowling ball in your head. And it's heavy for us. And you got these chicks that are, 100 pounds lighter wearing the same armor. It's like, I respect it.
Yeah, that's respect.
I mean, it would be like us wearing another 100 pounds of armor on top of what we're wearing. So,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I respect the hell out of it for it. And it's growing amongst women as well. It's getting big.
Yeah. I think the Vikings in Last Kingdom really had something to do with a lot of women getting more involved in that kind of stuff.
Hey man, whatever it takes to get people in the sport, because once they're in it, man, they're hooked.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not putting it on today. I gotta go home.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to convince these guys to get in armor.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see definitely need to.
Dude, you'd be surprised, man. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not big, I don't lift. Some of the most successful guys are the ones that, like, you would look at them and you're like, you wouldn't think twice about them. And then they step in the list and
you get in the ring, it's like, oh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's different. It's different. It's just something you gotta experience.
For sure. Is there anything else you want to get out there?
Not really.
All right, dude. Well, dude,
I appreciate your time, man.
Thanks so much for your time,
Hey,
man.
absolutely.
The information's been awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Warhorse Events, come check us out. Come meet us. We're all super friendly, really good guys. No bias.
Excellent.
Hey, appreciate it.